Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Groundplan Tips and Tricks. I'm Cazz. I'm the senior trainer at Groundplan, and today I'm going to be taking everyone through how to do takeoffs faster and more accurately using Groundplan and Simpro. Now, some of you will know that talking and typing is actually not one of my skills, so please do save any questions that you have for our QA section at the end. We're going to jump into how to get the most from this Groundplan and Simpro integration, some common time savers, and a couple of cheeky Cazz tips along the way. One of the things that lots of people sort of overlook when they're using Groundplan is actually ensuring that they have maximum plan visibility on their screen. I've got a pretty big screen so I can see a lot of my plan. But for a lot of people, heading to the bottom left of your editor, we have an enable full screen button. And when you click this, you see how much more space I've now got on my screen. My whole bar at the top disappears and it's just plan. Another way we can increase this is by reducing our stage bar. So you're just going to hover your mouse over that grey bar and just click the left side of your mouse and hold and drag it to the left. When the blue bar stops, that's as far as it can go. So just move your mouse back and then drop it in place. You can really see here how much extra space we've got just from those two really quite seemingly small things. I like to review my plan before I start my takeoff. So to best do this, I'm going to use the wheel on my mouse and just roll this forward. From here, I can click, hold and drag to just move around the plan and really see what I've got going on. If anyone is using a trackpad, you can use pinch zoom. But in the bottom middle, we've got a little magnifying glass, and this just jumps you up and down the zoom levels. If you're on a trackpad, I personally use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move around. I just find it's a bit easier than trying to click, hold and drag on a trackpad. During today's webinar, we are going to be measuring some lengths and we're also going to be looking at measuring some areas. So that means we need to set our scale and then check it afterwards. So in the top left-hand corner of your editor, we have the orange scale button. So we're going to click on that. Moving to the bottom right of my plan, I can see that this is a 1 to 100 on A1. I'm just going to click once in the scale box and then I can drop that down and then select 1 to 100. We've auto-detected the paper size. I could change it if I need to, but that's correct. And then we're going to set our scale. To check the scale, we're going to find a known measurement on the plan. Now, when I was doing my review, I could see that there's not any sort of rulers going on, so I'm going to use a doorway instead. So giving it a good zoom in on my doorway, I'm then going to go to the top right and click on our ruler tool. I'm going to click on one side of the doorway. I'm going to hold shift to help me draw a straight line, and then go to the other side and click again. So that's 920mm, that's right for a standard doorway in Australia. Now to make that easier for me next time, I'm going to head up to the top right and click on Edit. Then I'm going to move back and click Settings. Here I can make my line more see-through, so I normally drop my opacity to between 40 and 50%. If you want to, you can change your number format to millimeters, but you see how much easier there is to see through my line. Once I'm happy, I'm just going to tap Delete on my keyboard to remove my ruler. Going to the top left, I'm then going to click back to stages, and now I'm ready to start my takeoff. The first thing I want to do is click on the word first stage. I'm going to put in here the name of the first section inside my Simpro Quote. Now this could be lighting, it could be dry fire, you could have first floor on here, building 1, even things like excavation. I'm going to go with electrical. But you can put in here whatever you need to put and however you break down your sections inside your Simpro Quote. Next, I need to tell Groundplan what I'm doing. I'm looking at some smoke detectors, so I'm going to be counting them. So heading to the left, I'm going to click plus count. Now I can choose whether I'm going to count a catalogue item, a pre-build or a one-off item for this smoke detector. I know they're under my pre-builds, so we're going to click on Simpro Pre-Build. Using my groups and then my subgroups, I can really easily find the items that I'm after. I'm going to change the items per page to 10 because I like a bit more visibility. And I can also filter these results. So if I say put in 1.5 mil, I do need to set what I'm filtering by. Is it the part number or is it the name? If you do regularly switch between filtering from the part number and the name, you can just easily set this to both. I want 10 meters of cable per smoke alarm, so I'm going to select my top pre-build. I'm happy with my style options, so I'm going to click Create. Using our Count Assist tool, I need to select the symbol for my smoke alarm. So to do this, I'm going to put my mouse in the top corner and click once. I'm going to move to the opposite corner. See, it's gone blue there. That's great. That means it can be read by Count Assist, so I just need to click once more. I've now found 25 smoke alarms. So I need to just check the search results. So clicking on Highlight Results, just going to zoom out a tiny bit and then use that click, hold and drag to look around that plan and make sure all of my smoke detectors have been picked up. Now if I go down the bottom here, I can see that one's been picked up in my plan legend, and I don't want that. So I do need to exclude the legend from my Count Assist searches. I'm going to click once on my plan to exit Highlight Result mode and go to the top right and click Plus Exclusion. Here we're going to draw a box around our legend. I'm in square mode. If your legend's not that shape, you do have the option for freeform as well. So we're just going to click in one corner of the legend, go to the opposite one again and click again. These options are preset for legends. So it's to exclude all Count Assist results in this area and for this to apply to all Count Assist searches on the plan. So I simply need to click Save. That's now gone down to 24 detectors. Happy with that, so I'm just going to click Apply Count and they're all counted for me. Groundplan's auto-save. So to move on to the next measurement, I can go back up to the top left and click on Plus Count. You can see that my group and my subgroups have all been remembered, just for a little bit of speed there when I'm going through my plan. The next item on my list is actually a D1. And this is going to be a Simpro One Off item because I'm not sure what that fitting is at the moment. So I'm going to click across to Simpro One Off. In here I'm going to pop in my description of D1. I don't know the cost of this fitting at the moment, so I do just want to put a 1 in there so that when I'm applying my supplier quote in Simpro, that cost is going to populate correctly. I'm going to put an estimate of 10 minutes just for that light fitting to be installed. And I will just go and change the fill colour. Now with my D1, there's obviously a light fitting, but I also want to install that light fitting. And for the installation of that fitting, I've actually got a separate pre-build. So this time, I actually need to click Create and add more parts. Here I'm going to click Plus Part. I can choose a catalogue item, a pre-build, or a one-off item to be quantified at the same time as this D1 fitting. We're going to go down to pre-builds. I'm going to clear that group out just using the X, because I know what I'm looking for in my search. So I'm just going to type in the word commercial. And once again, I just want that 10 meters, so I'm going to click that pre-build. I only want one install pre-build per light fitting, so I'll leave my formula as it is, and I can just click Save. Cancel is just going to close out my slider. So we can see that my D1's in green, which means it's selected, so that means I've just got to select the symbol on the plan. So clicking on one corner of the symbol, moving across again and clicking on the opposite diagonal corner. This time it's found 52 D1s. So once again we're going to highlight our results and have a look around the plan. Now this time when I'm reviewing, you'll see we've got some D1As and a D1S over here. Now I actually need these to be quantified against different measurements because the A's is an emergency circuit and the S is a security circuit. So to take these out of my search results, I'm going to click once on the plan to exit highlight results. And I'm going to draw the box this time around the D1 and the A label. My refined selection windows come up because there's quite a few elements in my search. The ones that I want are in green. So that's fantastic. I can just click Save. And if we look now across to the left-hand side, I've still got a total of 52, but 35 of those are D1s and 17 of those are D1As. To see what's been picked up by my D1A selection, I'm just going to click the little magnifying glass here. And you can actually just see all of the D1As in my plan. I'm quite happy they've all been selected. So now I'm going to go to Actions and just exclude this from my Count Assist results. You'll see that all my D1As have gone black and my total found is just those 35 D1s. I'm just going to need to do the same thing here for my D1S, so just pop a little box around him, then go to Actions and exclude that from my results. I'm happy with these results, so I can click Apply Count. If I now go to the top right and click onto Settings and Parts and Settings, here you can see that I've got 34 D1 fittings and 34 install pre-builds. Pretty cool, eh? Now, with my D1As, I want the same light fitting, but I want to put a separate install pre-build against it. So what I'm going to do to achieve this is I'm going to copy the D1 measurement, and then I'm going to update the pre-build in the background. So we start by hovering over the D1, head to the right of that box and click onto Actions, and then click Copy. Just going to note that this is my D1A, and then copy the measurement. Just going to quickly grab that, that wrong one again, sorry, this is why I do this in public. So, clicking onto my D1A, I'm just going to draw a little box around him. So, grab this one here. This time I've got an extra element, so hovering over these elements I can see what's been selected. I don't want element 3, so I'll remove him, and when I'm happy I'll click Save. I know there's 17 of these been found from when we excluded them, so we can just apply our count. This time when we're going up to Settings and Parts and Settings, I'm going to remove this install pre-build, so just delete that one out. And then under Parts, go to Pre-build again, type in Commercial. There's my emergency install, so we'll select him and then click Save. Now if I jump out of full screen mode and just head across to my Simpro tab, you can see that we've got 51 D1s, but our install pre-builds are broken down to 34 for normal and 17 for the emergency. To head back to my plan, I just need to click on the blue plan name and it takes me back to my most recent plan. I will jump back into full screen mode. The next item I want to show you measuring is actually going to be my walls, and they're going to go under a stage of plastering. So because it's going to be a different section in my Simpro Quote, I'm just going to head up to plus stage in the left hand corner and then new stage, and here I'm going to type in plastering and press enter. Because we're measuring lengths, we're going to click plus length. This time I'm going to need to go into my catalogue. So we'll click on the Simpro catalogue item tab. Once again, I'm going to use my groups and my subgroups just to see my items. Now I can see here that the pricing for these items is set up in meters squared. So I really just need to choose the board that I want to use. So we'll grab this one here. If I want Groundplan to also give me my meters squared, I need to come down to my measurement unit, select meters squared, and then put in my wall height. Under measurement unit, you can also choose to measure cubic meters or add a pitch to the length that you are measuring. So we click onto our meters squared. If I put in here 2400, I do need to denote millimeters at the end as Groundplan defaults to meters. I like to put my height on my plan as well, just so it's easier for everyone involved. So we're going to click onto label, and in here we're going to put 2.4. When I'm ready, I'm just going to click create. Start measuring the lengths. I'm going to give the plan a bit of a good zoom in and find my start point. I'm going to click to start, and as I move down the plan, I'm going to hold shift to help me draw a straight line. Now as you're holding shift, your line's locked in 15-degree increments. So you may find on certain plans or on certain items that the shift key shortcut doesn't work for you, but I will be showing you an alternative later in the piece. So we're going to hold that shift key and go down, and then we're going to click to change direction. Now if I put a point in the wrong place, oh no, that doesn't go there, whatever are we going to do? I'm going to hold in the control key on my keyboard, command if you're on a Mac, and then tap Z for Zulu. That just undoes the last point, and I can carry on with my shift key, clicking, holding and dragging. You'll see that I can move around on the plan even when I'm in measuring mode. And when I get to the last point, I'm just going to double click to finish. I can immediately move on to the next thing I'm going to be measuring. So it's clicking to start, holding that shift key for the straight line, clicking to change direction. If you do go wrong, control or command and Z, And when you get to the end of your line, you just want to, oh, that's terrible, just want to double click to finish. Now my length over here has got some curves in it. So let's look at how we would handle that. I'm going to start as normal by clicking to start and then changing that direction. Now I'm going to click just before my curve. I'm going to go straight across my curve and click once again. Then I'm going to press W for whiskey once on my keyboard, move my mouse back, and then click in the curve point, and I can carry on going round. Now I know this part here is a reception desk and it's not part of the wall, but I do want to show you a bit more on curves, so we are just going to continue round as if that was a wall. So we're just clicking to change direction, getting to that curve, clicking once, going across it, pressing W, moving that mouse back and clicking again. Now for this last curve, I'm going to show you the alternate shortcut keys. So we're still clicking just before the curve, but this time we're pressing Q for Quebec on our keyboard, clicking on the curve point, clicking just after the curve and carrying on measuring. Everyone's got their preference. I personally prefer W. Now as this first and last point is the same, here I only need to click once. Now as well as curve mode, we also have square mode. To use square mode, you need to go to the top right, click on the word freeform, click on square. If we measured this square here, we're just going to click on one corner, go to the opposite diagonal one and click again. Groundplan does remember the last measuring mode that you used. So when I go to my next area, I want to be drawing a square, so I'll click once to start and then go to the opposite corner. When I'm moving on to freeform lengths, I do need to come back up to square and then drop that down into freeform. When I've finished marking up the whole plan, towards the top left middle there's a circle with a tick in it. I just want to click onto that and that will mark my plan as complete. Then moving to the bottom right, we've got two arrows and we've got a rectangle. The rectangle is your plan browser. The plan browser is fantastic because you can see all of the plans in your project. And if you're using groups or things like that, you can just minimize the groups to just click through and easily see things. And we've also got a search bar on there as well. If you are collaborating on projects, you can see which of these plans has been marked as complete from this plan browser. We're going to jump into the ground floor power plan, so we're just going to click on that to open it. And then the top right, we can close off our plan browser. Now, thinking about my Simpro Quote, I only want one section for electrical and one section for plastering. So on this plan here, I need to come across to the left, select all on my stages, and then click Link Stages. Now this is obviously a power plan. So to populate my measurements for this plan, I'm going to use a pre-saved template that's linked to Simpro Pre-Builds and catalogue items. So I'm heading up to where it says electrical, I'm moving along the line to actions and then clicking apply a template. I can filter my templates by name or by label. So let's go power, grab our powers and con template. I don't need these in here, so I'm just going to click, hold and drag to remove them. And then I'm going to apply my template. Click on my 450 cable tray. You can see that my scale button has popped up in red. That's just letting me know that I haven't set the scale on this plan because you do need to set it per plan. So we'll click on that scale button. Here's another 1 to 100. So we'll just click in the box once, grab that scale and then set the scale. Obviously here you guys would normally be rechecking the scale, but we'll skip this step for now. So moving on to my cable tray, this part here has got a riser on it, so it's obviously going up into the next ceiling. So here I typically need to add a bit more cable tray than what I'm measuring. So to do this, we're going to head to the top right and we're going to click on the word drop. If I just put, say, 1/2 meter in there for my drop, and then I'm going to click to start my length. Now as I move my mouse down, you'll see along the line it's showing me 4.238 meters. And then to the right of my cursor, we've got 4.74 meters, which is my measured length, including the drop of 0.5, which is listed underneath. So if I just go along and measure my cable tray, so same as normal, just holding that shift key and then double clicking to finish. When I move on to my next length of cable tray, you'll see when I click to start, that my drop is still there. So I've still got that 1/2 meter drop. Now, if I wanted to use that drop, I can just carry on. If I need to change it or get rid of it, I just go back up to that drop at the top right. Let's change this one to 0.3. And then I can just double click to finish here on my cable tray. Just going to extend out my stage again. Because here you can see I've got my individual lengths and it's showing me on these lengths how much drop and wastage is included into them. Move that back again. So the next item on our list is going to be measuring the ceiling area for plastering again. On a smaller screen, you'd probably click on the word electrical just to hide your stage and give you a bit more screen real estate. And here we're going to click plus area. So in my catalogue again, I'm just going to search for my 13mm. Once again, I've got to make sure that I'm on the right item here. So I actually need to change that to name for that to come up for me. I want my sound check plasterboard, so we'll select this item. My measurement unit this time is already set to meters squared, so that's fantastic. You do have the option here for meters cubed or to add a pitch to your area as well. Next to style, we have the option to show the area total on the screen. So we'll click on total, we'll just toggle that on, and then we're going to click create. So with our area, we're going to zoom in and find our start point. So we're going to click to start, hold shift for that straight line. Now you'll see here that shift isn't going very well for this line because it's not on the angle that I'm looking for. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go to the bottom right and we're going to click on this magnet, and that's going to enable snap to objects. Now snap to objects is going to grab onto dark parts of the plant, so like these little corners here. And it's one that I say to everyone, you can really feel it working for you. Not that easy to show when it's a feel, right? We've come to another curve again, so we're going to click on one side of the curve, jump across to the other side, press W for whiskey on our keyboard again, move that mouse back and drop that point into place. So your shortcut keys here for your lengths and areas are completely the same. So you're clicking to change direction, you're holding shift for that straight line. If I put a point in the wrong place for any reason, oh whoops, that doesn't go there. I'm holding control on my keyboard, command on a Mac, tapping Z for Zulu, and that just undoes the point. And we can just really easily go around the outside of this building. And as much as this might be a couple of clicks for me, you can really see how quickly and easily this whole area is being covered. And when we get to the end of the area, we're just going to double click to finish. So we can see here that the total area that I've measured is showing here on my area as we wanted. Now I chose the sound check plasterboard, but I've got a couple of bathrooms here. So for these, I probably want to use AquaCheck. So first thing I need to do is remove these from my sound check takeoff. So to do that, we're going to head to edit in the top right hand corner. I'm going to click plus add and then click cut out. We've got square mode again in the areas, same as we do on the length. So we're going to go into square mode. I'm going to click on one corner of that bathroom, go to the opposite diagonal corner and click again. And you'll see that's been removed and my total is updated. If we do this again on the other bathrooms just below it, once again, as we're moving it, you can see that number changing. And that's all done. Groundplan is auto-save. So if I want to move on to my next measurement, I can just click on there and my changes are remembered, or I could press escape on my keyboard when I'm finished and ready to go. Once all my plans are marked up, I'm going to jump out of full screen mode. I'm going to head across to our worksheet tab. On the worksheet tab, you need to add in any additional items and labour that need to be in that section of your quote but aren't included in your measurements. So things like machine hire, platform lift hire, maybe a programmer for labour-wise or a contractor for labour-wise. So for additional parts, we're going to click on plus additional item and we can choose from a catalogue item, a pre-build or a once-off item. I'm going to go with a once-off item and I'm going to go with a platform lift because I'm sure those ceilings are very high. Pop my cost in there and then just put a quantity in as well. To add in my programmer labour, I can put whatever description I want in here because I am going to assign this to one of my Simpro labour rates on the next screen. I'm not going to fill in any costings here because I want to pick up my Simpro labour rates. So we just leave all of that blank, but we do want to put the quantity of hours in. So let's go with 8. Once these have been added to all of your stages, we're going to click onto the Simpro tab. I know everything's going through to my project cost center. So under default cost center, I'm going to find my project cost center, and that's all been applied. Now normally for my quotes, under electrical, I've got a cost center for lighting, one for power, and then one for data. So to set this up, I need to select all of my lighting items. So I'm just going to click, hold and drag to select them. And the platform lift. And then I'm going to come down here and set my cost center name and just call that lighting. I'm going to repeat that for power. Now look, you can use the tick boxes. You can click anywhere along the line. I just find the click, hold and drag just that little bit faster. And then we're going to set our cost center name. Oh, forgot my underfloor heating, so I can just click on him, click set cost center name, and then click on power, and that'll put that in for me. I'm not going to worry about the data. Everything's got 0, so that's not going through to Simpro this time. Now, for my labour, I need to set a Simpro labour rate against this labour line. So because there's only one line of labour in here, I'm just going to use the default labour rate and put that to contract to hire. This default labour rate box is the default labour for additional labour added in Groundplan. This is not going to change your default labour rate on your quote. That's still going to come from your Simpro defaults, which is normally from your customer card or your site. When I'm happy with all of that, I'm going to click the green Push to a New Quote button. I'm going to search my customer or add a new customer if they're not already in Simpro. I'm going to go with Cazz Loves the Storm. That won't mean much to anyone in the UK. It's an Australian rugby league team. And then I'm going to choose my site. If your quote requires a mandatory due date, please set this here. And then set your project manager and your salesperson for reporting and notifications. You can attach your plans from Groundplan into Simpro. We're going to show that on a separate webinar. So for today, we're just going to click Submit. This is now creating my quote in Simpro, and I can click onto this quote number to view my open quote. And here she is. Now if I click on my cost center list, I can see here are my stages that have become my sections, and inside there are all my cost centers, including my renamed ones. And if I jump into my project cost center, you can see that there is my contract to hire. And if we go back into the lighting cost center, we can see that Cazz's labour rate, which is my default labour rate for that customer, is pulling through from all my pre-builds and my catalogue items. Now once this quote is in Simpro, you're just going to send out your normal process for using your quotes in Simpro. So we're going to send out our forms, we're going to send out our supply quotes. It's just your rest of your quote process. We're just pushing those totals and pre-builds in from within Groundplan. Now moving back into Groundplan, if I wanted to use these items again and my symbols again on another project, we're just going to save these as a template. So we're going to come up to the worksheet, along the line of the word electrical, we've got actions, and then we can copy this to a new template. So let's just call this today's webinar, and then we're going to click copy stage. So here you can see all of my measurements have come through, and if I click onto my D1, there's that one-off item for me and my pre-build showing. Moving on to my Simpro tab, I need to just go and select all here and set my cost center to project, and you'll see that all of my cost center names have been remembered. If I want to just name my data ones as well, let's just set my cost center name to data, and I can do that here. These are going to be remembered when you're using this template on a project. So let's go back into my webinar. Let's find a plan we haven't used yet. And what we're going to do here is add a new stage as if this was a new project. Let's just go with Cazz test. We're going to apply the takeoff template, and we just call that today's webinar, and then click create. So the great thing here about my template is that I can just click that D1 and I could just start measuring straight away. If we move on to the Simpro tab, and then we'll go to Cazz test, all of my cost centers have got a set, and all of my cost center names are set as well. Now hopefully this has given you a couple of things to think about of how you can do your takeoffs faster using Groundplan and Simpro. I do have a little bit of a sneak preview for you guys though. I do want to show you something that's coming up in our next webinar. I promise to be quick because I know some of you will be on a time limit. We're going to go across quickly to the Plans tab. And inside this plan, you can see that I have a revision. So this plan here is a revision of this plan here. So I'm just going to hover over my completed plan and click Revise. I'm just going to find my revision plan and select him and click Revise Plan. If I click into my plan now, this is now my new revision plan that's there in the background. I'm just going to hide my stages and under Details and Compare our plans. And here is our revision plan, but color coded is all the things that have been added and removed. So guys, please do tune in for our next webinars that are coming up. We're going to be doing webinars on plan revisions and plan designs made quicker and simpler with Groundplan, and they're all going to be coming to you in 2026. Does anyone have any questions on today's topic? Feel free to pop your hands up or just pop me a little message in the chat and I'll be able to talk you through them. So when you're trying to change the cost center name but it's not changing, are you clicking the Save button at the end? And have you got items selected? So your cost center name won't change unless the items are selected and unless you click the Save button at the side. Now, James, you want to measure a circle radius for a smoke detector of 7.5. So you're taking my grid to all new levels here, James. So I would personally click Enable Grid and then use my little grid settings here. And we reckon it's a 7.5. And this is then giving me my grid boxes that are 7.5 by 7.5. Using our circle tool, so what I'd do is I'd make sure that that cross of the grid was lined up on the smoke detector. We can just grab our little circle tool, and then that will give you your 7.5 circle. And you can probably just put them in the middle there, I think. The other way may be sort of using the ruler tool to give you a guide, but a lot of my guys are using the circle tool to sort of then go from that side because of the grid that you've got option-wise. With a symbol and multiple symbol selections, we will find any identical symbol on any form of a 45-degree rotation, but not all symbols are made equally. So, should be my power plan. Here we are. Okay. So let's go with a double GPO. I know this one in particular is actually a good example of needing to do multiple selections. So if I select my GPO here, let's find my GPO symbol just by hovering over the element names. It's going to be right at the bottom just because we're here. Okay, and then we're going to click Save. So we can see that there's other ones that need picking up. And you might say, oh, this one here, this is because of the rotation. It's actually normally something else completely. So let's put this in. So when we're talking about symbols being identical, we're talking about the size. We're talking about the line width. So this D here is a bit skinnier than this D here is, and this line comes in a bit further. So if you were to rotate that to the same way round, those symbols wouldn't line up identically. And it's very common in electrical, especially with PowerPoints, and generally it comes because of revisions that have happened in the background. Now this one here that's upside down, if we turned him the same way up as this one here, this spoke would actually be on the other side. So once again, it is non-identical. And with your PowerPoints as well, if it isn't sizing, sometimes it's the spoke being on the other side, and it depends how they come in. Now, this plan, the reason I say this is a very good example is that these ones down here, they are nowhere near on the same 45-degree angle as these are. So what we have to do here, we'll try and get that 2 out of it because it makes it a little bit more, is that these ones would need to have multiple selections, and that's why we let you have multiple selections, because we can see that's not on the same angle. Look, we are always trying to improve things like our count assist, and we would love to see a feature of, do you also mean this, or would you also like to find this for similar symbols? What the guys have told us is that they are doing changes for count assist, but a little bit like when you go and try and put solar panels on a roof, sometimes you go to put the tech on and they go, oh, your switchboard needs upgrading. So we've been doing a bit of switchboard upgrading in the background. So hopefully when the switchboard's upgraded, that there will be some better things around the different angles that you might get, especially with things like security cameras. But do also be aware when you're making these selections that sometimes the reason why they're not being found is that the symbols aren't actually identical. They're a different symbol, or the spoke's on the other side. Hopefully that sort of helps you a bit, Damien. I know what a lot of our guys will do is, so say these ones here, they're 300. Instead of selecting the symbol, they'll just select the 300 label. Maybe do a better selection there. That was not very good of me. Because sometimes selecting the heights can actually get better results, or even just selecting the 2 next to it can give you better results than selecting the symbol itself. It does all just depend on how the plan's made. This one, see here, you've got 76 of them, but you'll see that 2 next to it is a completely different size. So a lot of the times with count assist, it is just finding about what's the quickest search selection. If text is there, I tend to go for text, including for things like D1s or D2 fittings, where the fitting label is outside of the symbol. I would just like to say to everyone, thank you so much for your time today. Please do make sure you check out our help guide and our free academy courses. And if you do have any questions, do come through to the team under help and send us a message. Otherwise, look, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for the questions at the end, guys, and happy ground planning.